June all-day sit this coming Sunday. It's the last sit we'll do until September when we'll be at Pepperwood. So please come if you can. Lovely to sit together. We're continuing with our focus on Bodhisattvas. Chelsea gave a lovely talk, a taste of Black liberation teachings as Bodhisattva illumination. I'm going to talk today about queer Dharma. And next week, I think Rachel and Gretchen are talking about the earth as Bodhisattva. That's right. Isn't that right? Pardon? It's the week after? Oh, good. Okay, well then I guess I'm talking about Shante Deva next week. They're both looking at me rather intently. Okay, everything's fine. And Barbara Spain, Dharma Heart Zen Bodhisattva, died last Friday, less than a week ago, with great equanimity and grace. I was kind of blown away by how clear she was. And we did a memorial service on Tuesday. So. All love and my experience of being with people with dying, of course, is we all do this differently. And it always, I mean, you never know, but it's always seemed to me that some people leave more slowly. It's like, there's maybe, who knows, and some, this may not be true at all, and some people are just like, they're just ready, it's like poof. And it feels to me like Barbara was one of those, just like, it's complete. Here I go. And we wish her well.
Chris?
Yeah.
As many of you may know, the Sebastopol Art Center now has an exhibit called Persist and Resist, in which there is a Jizo altar created by Sherry.
Created by all of us.
All of us.
Oh yeah, no, it's important. This is a collective process. And Sherry has been our guide. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
So I propose an outing, a rendezvous, if you will, at the Art Center after a Thursday. Like we could go from here to there.
Sounds awesome. Today?
No,
Okay.
I brought a list to pass around, and then I don't know what to do about online people. What would you suggest, Chris?
I think you could put the list there and people could sign up, and if you're interested, do you want people to be in touch with you? You want, I think Sherry could send something out. Also, Sherry today at her house is making little rocks with red strings so that people can take something home with them, little Jizos in their pockets, and they're going like hotcakes, little Jizo hotcakes. And so she's inviting people to her house today after Sangha to help make more for the exhibit. It's a beautiful exhibit. You weren't able to be there. How's that sound, Jennifer?
And for the online folks?
I think maybe let's ask Sherry if she'll send out something. Is that going to be confusing, or
It's
just contact Jennifer? Okay. Can you put Jennifer's email in the chat? And then if you would like to just affirm that a Thursday following Sangha that you would like to go, be in contact with Jennifer and she'll figure it out.
Seems like it ought to be a Thursday that
It begins with
Sherry would go.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was responding to a question. So
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Just express your interest if that's what you would like to do on a Thursday. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Susan needs your email.
If we're gonna put it in chat, we need to know it, so if you want to type it in or tell us.
Okay, Queer Dharma. There's a new book. Well, actually, I don't know. It's new to me. When did it come out? I just ordered it.
I've never read these books.
2021. Yoga and Meditations for Liberation, Jacoby Ballard. I like what I've read. It feels very clear. And Street Zen, The Life and Work of Isan Dorsey, who I knew part of our lineage, and I want to I want to share all of it, so I'll just do. You just have to put up with me because I think so. Let me do. So we did high bodhisattvas, archetypal bodhisattvas, and now we're bringing it down to earth, so to speak. So in 2 weeks we're doing earth as bodhisattva. Next week I think we're going to do Shantideva. But it's like, so what's it look like as an embodied lamp of intention in the world? And what's it look like? Because whatever you get in this particular life, whatever your skin bag is, or maybe there was something I read about a red piece of meat. Anyway, there's amazing ways that Zen talks about having a body. Whatever body you got, whatever gender you got, or you wake up in, or whatever skin you got, or racial or social birth, that's your vehicle to wake up in, which then becomes that's your vehicle to transmit the Dharma, not as I know something you don't know, but as being a fully illumined human being in the center of the causes and conditions that created you and are creating us all together. So that's why I want to bring forward the particularity of these different embodiments. Queer Dharma, Introduction. Meditation saved my life when I was a teenager. I was bullied for 6 years for being perceived as queer in my small mountain town in Colorado. I wasn't out as queer yet, even to myself, but I was taunted, physically harassed, teased, dismissed, and mentally and emotionally manipulated by peers who perceived something different and seized upon me. Another queer kid in our high school died by suicide in our freshman year. I could have been right alongside him had I not studied meditation at that time. Beginning meditation in high school taught me focus, revealed an inherent goodness in me regardless of what was happening around me or being said about me, and a spaciousness inside that could never be taken from me. After graduating high school, I left. I went almost as far away within the continental U.S. as I could to a small liberal arts college in Maine. I stumbled into Buddhism. I explore Buddhism not as a religion, but as practice. Something to try on and repeat again and again, reducing suffering over time as the Buddha invited us to do. My queer and trans identities deeply influence my experience of yogic and Buddhist teachings, for I experience both my identity and the teachings as political. For me, identifying as queer is a political label rather than simply a personal identity. Queer conveys a politics and commitment not only around issues deemed as, quote, LGBTQ issues, but also around deportation and immigration policies, mass incarceration, food justice, housing justice, climate change, and other issues concerning power and oppression. Being queer means being committed to anti-oppression, justice, and liberation, including how I express my sexuality and gender. This is one person's expression. I use the word trans and genderqueer to describe my gender identity, and I don't identify as a binary trans person, as a trans man. I use both him, her, and they, them pronouns. I'm sometimes perceived as a man, sometimes as a butch woman, and sometimes as someone androgynous. I carried and birthed my child, but did not nurse him. Living as queer, gender non-conforming, and trans people in the world is difficult. We are blessed by our bodies, but don't always realize it, nor does society around us. Swami Daya Jeva would often say, God doesn't make mistakes. And as I was initially coming out as trans, I thought, yes, well, God did. I don't want this body that doesn't resonate with who I am inside. That was a mistake. At that time, in 2004, I was at the beginning of coming out as trans, and I was confused, angry, and depressed. That state of being is a reasonable response to a transphobic world where gender dysphoria is considered a mental illness by the Diagnosis and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and where media portrayals of trans lives remains largely limited and reinforce the gender binary or feature tragic deaths of trans characters. The person's so straightforward and clear. As I came out as trans, I couldn't see beyond the horizon, and I was incredibly impatient. Wells of anger and grief emerged as well. Grief from childhood trauma, rage from my ancestors, fear about climate change, exhaustion from a society prioritizing profit over people, and a well of sadness at the impact of systems of oppression in my queer community. I think maybe I won't do this, although I want to do it. But then Jacob B. brings forward the Buddhist precepts. Maybe I will.
Do it.
Yeah, because I just, all this is so good. I think it is. These are the precepts through Katrona Reed, a trans Zen teacher, how this person portrays the Buddhist precepts. One, there's 5, which is the Theravada, the Vipassana. They don't do the 16 that Dogen does for our lineage. It's 5. Thich Nhat Hanh also does 5. 1, aware of the violence in the world and the power of nonviolent resistance, I stand in the presence of the ancestors, the earth, and future generations, and vow to cultivate that compassion that seeks to protect each living being. 2, aware of the poverty and greed in the world and of the intrinsic abundance of the earth, I stand in the presence of the ancestors, the earth, and future generations, and vow to cultivate the simplicity, gratitude, and generosity that have no limits. These are beautiful. 3, aware of the abuse and lovelessness in the world and of the healing that is made possible when we open to love, I stand in the presence of the ancestors, the earth, and future generations, and vow to cultivate respect for the beauty and the erotic power of our bodies. 4, aware of the falsehood and deception in the world and of the power of living and speaking the truth, I stand in the presence of the ancestors, the earth, and the future of generations, and vow to cultivate the ability to listen and to practice clarity and integrity in all that I communicate by my words and my actions. 5, aware of the contamination and desecration of the world and of my responsibility for life as it manifests through me, I stand in the presence of the ancestors, the earth, and future generations, and vow to cultivate care and right action, and to honor and respect health and well-being for my body and mind and the planet. a closing paragraph in here. One of my gifts is that I am situated in between places, between binary genders and sexual orientations, between social justice and healing practices. I pray that we each bring our own unique gifts, that we cherish the gifts others bring as well, and that we protect one another's dignity, belonging, and safety along the way. Good, clear Bodhisattva. Isan Dorsey, good, clear Bodhisattva. Isan Dorsey was at Zen Center when I came as a new student from Ohio. I was in my 20s. I was young. I was scared. I was scared of it. I'm still scared of it. I'm practicing fear. Be a lamp. This is, and I could tell he wanted to be friends with me. I mean, he wanted to be friends with everybody. He was just like really kind, and I was just scared. I knew he knew I was scared, and so he just kind of left me alone. But he didn't like shut down. I just remember passing him in the halls and wishing that I could be more than I could be in that moment, which was just a really young person from Ohio who just like, who is this? Because I had never met anyone like that before. And David Snyder, who wrote this, my generation, we all practiced together. Preface, this is from David Snyder. From 1972 until his death in 1990, Isan Tommy Dorsey was my best friend, both in the usual sense of the word and in a spiritual sense. He conquered difficulties presented by the Zen path one after another. He was kind and welcoming, and I've often thought that just by being who he was, he made it possible for me to practice Buddhism. I have people like that in my life. It's like, I know if Wendy Johnson hadn't been in the garden being Wendy Johnson, I would have been out of Zen Center in a heartbeat. It's like maybe you walk into Sangha and one person just helps just by being themselves. You help them stay or you help them walk in the door. Isan's life, painted in broad strokes, seems a kind of salvation story. A person begins in a middling station in life, slides rapidly and pleasurably into a hell, pulls himself out of it, then dedicates the rest of that life to working for the benefit of others. Because Isan used Zen meditation and Zen community to extricate himself from a destructive path, his biography can be read as a kind of Buddhist success story. While he practiced Buddhism at San Francisco Zen Center or in Santa Fe later, or even when he operated the Maitri Hospice, he started a hospice. Isan was coming of age during AIDS, and that was an instrumental part of both his death and how he helped. Isan never acted much like an angel, nor like a particularly pure person. This is why people loved him and why he drove them crazy. Similarly, when he ran the streets as a drug-addicted alcoholic, female impersonator hooker, he never acted much like a devil. Associates from those days always described how special he seemed. Patient, accepting, compassionate. Zen students, on the other hand, might tell you about his pettiness. He could be dictatorial, fussy, bitchy, pain in the ass. This is why we really need Isan and people like Isan, because Isan couldn't help being anything but fully and completely who he was. People from all periods of his life will readily use the word outrageous in talking about Isan. Outrageous, far out. Applied to Isan, the word means he actually outraged people, which in fact he did all his life. Some of his caregivers, it's safe to say, felt moments of outrage about his relationship to pain-killing drugs and the amount of these drugs he asked for right up to his death. Isan was not an angel. The point I would like to make here is that Isan Dorsey's difficult and benevolent instincts were present and operative in him throughout his life. His acceptance of all sides of himself, in fact, his celebration of them, distinguishes him from most of his Buddhist contemporaries and makes him a wonderful bodhisattva ideal. So I'm going to read you little bits about this. Thank you for staying with me. So he heard about Suzuki Roshi at Sokoji Temple. You know, this guy had come and he says, so off I went, barefoot, patched pants, long hair. I'm going to say here, Bruce and I often, when we're talking about, when we're gossiping, actually, is like when people get ordained as priests, you think, why is that person a priest? I don't understand. Because there's this idea that you should be the spiffy whatever it was, and Isan but Suzuki Roshi ordained really wild and kind of crazy people. It's like we think, did he not see that? Did he not know that? I think he just loved them. He loved them because they were fully and completely themselves and because they had the heart of the Dharma. Okay, we got up an hour before we were supposed to be there. Me, Mickey, and James used to come with us sometimes too. We'd get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, smoke a joint, and go off to Sokoji Temple to sit. I says, well, what do we do? They're at the temple. They've walked in. I'll never forget this. And this is one of the people who went with him. This is Isan Tommy's. Well, let's do what they're doing. I said, well, they're just facing the wall. So he says, well, then let's face the wall. I say, okay, seems simple enough to me. That's how we started with Buddhism. But the reason these two shriven yet unsavory hippies were whispering at 5 a.m. about a practice that neither of them knew, the reason, in fact, that anyone at all was sitting in the balcony of the Sokoji Temple facing the wall, was a quiet, humble, and extraordinarily potent Zen teacher called Suzuki Roshi, who himself rose at that hour to sit with his disciples in the meditation known as Zazen. Suzuki Roshi, having come because the Japanese congregation invited him, he found himself more and more engaged by the naive energy of his American students. He never ignored his obligation to the Japanese congregation, but having come through the political, somewhat decadent temple system in Japan, he longed for a fresh approach to Buddhist teachings. This is just so refreshing and so important, because I think sometimes we keep thinking, are we doing it like the Japanese? Did we get it yet? And that wasn't Suzuki Roshi's intention at all. He knew something really fresh, like this Sangha was going to happen here. And that's what we're all doing. So we're finding out and fulfilling Suzuki Roshi's vision. He found this fresh approach with his new students. Crude, certainly in their understanding, often arrogant, disrespectful by Japanese standards, and frequently operating on questionable premises about food, politics, and spirituality in general, Suzuki Roshi's American students nonetheless exhibited an openness and a hunger for the teachings that he valued. He liked their beginner's mind, as he called it, and he went so far as to equate beginner's mind with the loftiest goals of Zen meditation. After Zazen was over, the son says this, Tommy, you had to file through his office to get out. I figured that was what you did everywhere, but no, this was his special thing. Each person had to pass him. Each person would come in front of him, and he'd look you right in the eye and bow to you, and you'd bow back. He bowed to every single person. This is Bodhisattva practice. There weren't really any rules about anything. You should have seen the people who arrived at Sokoji Temple. If any of us had arrived at any other practice place in the world, we wouldn't have been allowed in the front door. But Suzuki Roshi used to bow to us. You see why I want to read this to you? just makes me happy. Oh, here. Then he decides, Suzuki Roshi decides that it's time to do lay ordination with people. Suzuki Roshi said, I decided to have lay ordination for you old students just to help others. So he kind of like looked around and said, I think you all should do Jukai because it'll help the new people coming in the door. It wasn't to give some special idea of lay Buddhist because all of us are Buddhists actually. Every sentient being is a bodhisattva whether or not he or she is aware of it. As this is our conviction, I didn't want to give some special idea of lay Buddhist, but the time has come for us to strive more sincerely to help others. Our way is like Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva. When he wants to save ladies, he takes the form of a lady. For boys, he takes the form of a boy. For a fisherman, he becomes a fisherman. A more sophisticated Chinese expression is to be like a white bird in the snow. When people are like snow, we should be like snow. When people become black, we should be black. And always being with them without any idea of discrimination, we can help others in its true sense, without giving anything, any special teaching or materials. This is actually the Bodhisattva way. Softness of mind. Softness of mind is the foundation of our practice to help others. Somehow we should make our best effort. If you help yourself through your practice, you can help others without anything. Just to be with people will be enough. Whoops. This just came out of the book, so I guess maybe I'll pass it around. It's a picture of Isan when he was all. It says the final product. There's lots of pictures of him dressing up and becoming. We can just pass that around.
That's
Becoming-
Shirley MacLaine. He looks like Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, well, he was beautiful. He was. This is Peter Coyote talking about Isan Dorsey. Isan was just so human and so hip and so wiggy, and obviously nothing in Buddhism was contrary to everything he was. So how could there be a problem? He seemed to be very comfortable with his practice, very comfortable with himself. One way Isan allowed himself to be authentic is that he described himself as a faggot, speed freak, cross-dresser. And at a certain point, if you do that, you realize that that definition is a joke. No definition can contain a whole person. But where most people would define themselves as the director of this or that and hide the faggot, speed freak, cross-dresser, Isan fronted that. So what kind of airs could you put on? He just had this humorous thing, like, I'm the worst nightmare your mother could imagine, and here I am. He was forgiving towards himself and forgiving towards other people. You really felt that he was not judgmental. Consequently, he gave you a big field to run around in. Isn't this a great description of Bodhisattva practice, how Isan did it? The AIDS epidemic, Hartford Street Zen Center was formed, Maitri Hospice. A lot of people weren't so happy that all of a sudden these people dying of AIDS were moving into Maitri Hospice and Hartford Zen Center, which is in the Castro. For Isan, creating a hospice was inseparable from Zen practice. It wasn't something extra, another burden to shoulder. It was the simple extension of compassionate awareness. If there was dirt on the floor, you swept it up. If a child was sitting in the middle of a busy street, you grabbed them. If your friends and students were dying and in need of attention, you took them in. Simple, direct, non-conceptual. Here's from a lecture, Isan, about compassion. I think what I said is that the definition of compassion that I like is endless dimensions of this moment. Endless dimensions of this moment. I've been thinking more and more of this word compassion. Almost the way I begin to think about it. Like if you begin to discuss it, you've already missed it. It's more a question of being compassion. Yesterday, Steve Allen, talked about Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva that looks down and hears the cries of the world. Kanzeon is an aspect of Avalokiteshvara. They are the same. They are the same, but there is a little difference, right? I might just be making this up, but it's a nice way to say something. Kuan Yin, Kanzeon, is a very feminine aspect of Avalokiteshvara. Kanzeon deeply penetrates the sounds of the world. It means Kanzeon is the sounds of the world, so there is no separation. So ultimate dimensions of this moment is, I think there is no other way I can explain it, really, but I'd like you to think about it a lot. Why don't you say what that brings to your mind? We can talk about that in a minute. Endless dimensions of this moment. So the question is, what that does is make me think I can't be compassionate with other beings because I'm considering them other. And Isan said, exactly, you got it. And he laughs. Little by little, if we can have a taste, not an understanding, but a taste of the indivisibility of all beings, that is what we mean. Isan died of AIDS. His sexual behavior, I think, continued rather promiscuously throughout most of his life. And here's the final. Thank you. His funeral, San Francisco Zen Center. Richard Baker ordained him. Richard Baker transmitted him. He was really acknowledged and honored as a full teacher in this lineage. The stories and tributes began at the funeral. They were touching, of course, and funny, some of them, and passionate. Isan was not only admired and appreciated, he was genuinely adored. Everybody knew how complicated Isan was. This was not a secret. It was why he was adored. It's complicated and full of compassion. Themes appeared. Isan had been the first Zen Center person to greet many in the audience. He was, like I said, at Zen Center, Page Street, kind to me when most people were looking down at the floor, and Isan made contact. Or the first one to make them feel welcome, or the first one to smile at them. Stories were told of his skill in relating to social outcasts and misfits as they banged on the Zen Center door, often told by the misfits themselves. One of his friends came to the funeral scruffy and unkempt and made a pathetic speech to the effect that he had been a special person to Isan and that he hoped now to find a place of acceptance in the Zen community. Another of his friends came and read a funny rhyming poem he'd written. A well-known street prophet named Cosmic Lady also spoke in inspired, spontaneous verse. Mrs. Suzuki was weeping and talking. And finally, Richard Baker did a eulogy. And Richard Baker said about Isan, take note here, folks. He said Isan had understood Suzuki Roshi's way more than anyone else. In the Zen Buddhist world, Japanese or American, no higher compliment could be made. And here's the closing. This is from one of his son's lectures, 1990. Something touches me in what we've been talking about, which is compassion. Life and death, joy and sorrow, good and bad. These themes are in a poem by a man I like very much, and I just happen to know that that poem is right here in this book. Shall I read it?
Yes.
It's by Thich Nhat Hanh. Please call me by my true names. Do not say that I will be gone tomorrow, for even now I still return. Look deeply. I arrive in each fresh moment to be the bud on a tender spring branch, to be the fledgling wings still soft and fragile, joyfully chirping in my new nest, to be the green caterpillar on the rose's stems, to be the hidden jewel ripening within a stone. I still arrive so I can laugh and cry, so I can fear and hope. My birth and death breathes in rhythms to the heartbeat of all that are alive. I am the mayfly metamorphosizing on the water's surface. I am the bird who arrives in spring in time to catch the mayfly. I am the frog singing happily in the clear autumn pond, and I am the grass snake drawing near in silence to feed upon the frog. I am the child in Uganda, or Gaza, or Myanmar, or infinite places. All skin and bones, my legs as thinned as bamboo sticks, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands. And I am the man who must pay his debt of blood to my people, dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy opens like spring. Its glow makes flowers bloom in all walks of life. Tears stream out of my eyes, enough to fill the 4 great oceans. Please, call me by my true names, so I can hear all my laughs and cries at once, so I can see my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true name so that I can wake up and the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion.